Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Vandeham Shri Guru Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sadna Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrinivatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Ridyantastva Bhadrani Vidunoti Suratsatam Sarva Shastradi Piyusha Sarva Vaideka Satvala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnantya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kalidanto Titaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Aksharaya Te Sarvada Sarvasevaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute Mad Eka Bandhu Mad Sangin Mad Gurun Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tadain Ati Nicho Satakara Hana Muncha Kadachin Mam Premna Rit Kanthayo Spuraha Grantrashim Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prithu Maharaj Ki Jai Hare Krishna. So we are in chapter 21. Some instructions. Chapter 21. Yes. So, 22, right? I think Priti Maharaj meets the four Kumaras, right? So what we are discussing in our last class, what we discussed is the four Kumaras' instructions to Prithu Maharaj, right? So what was the question that Prithu Maharaj has? And a major part of this chapter we discussed is how Prithu Maharaj is welcoming the four Kumaras, and that has been elaborately explained. And then further Prithu Maharaj makes the point that, I don't need to ask about your good fortune because you are always, in transcendence, you are always focused on the absolute. So, everything is auspicious for you, but I'm focused more on my good fortune. Please tell me, how can I attain good fortune? What is really good fortune for me, right? And what is the ultimate benefit for me? And particularly, he says, for everyone who's suffering in this world, what is the ultimate benefit? And this question, isn't this similar to the question that one way Shanak Rishi asked, starting of Bhagavatam? Right? He says, what is the highest conclusion of the Shastra? What is the highest Shastra? Right? Sarvaipumsam Parodharma. And then, even Parikshit Maharaj, isn't that kind of similar? What is the duty of everyone in all circumstances, particularly one who's going to die? So we see that question, which is like the most important question for all of us, is how should I act in such a way that is going to be the ultimate benefit for me? Right? How Prabhupada makes the point, Na te vidu swarthagatimi Vishnu. I mentioned this earlier that when devotee did a research of which is the most frequently quoted verse that Prabhupada said. And he said this line of the word, Na te vidu swarthagatimi Vishnu, that we do not know what is our real benefit. Right? People do not know. And hence they think my real benefit is gaining so and so material prosperity, etc., etc. But our real benefit is to actually surrender to Vishnu. That is the ultimate benefit. So here Prithuma asked this question, what is the ultimate benefit? And then Sanat Kumar actually says that, he starts off by glorifying the question, as we see repeatedly in Bhagavatam. And then Prithu Maharaj actually, Sanat Kumar actually makes the point that, you're saying that there is no good fortune for you, but you already have what is the most beneficial thing. What is that? You have an inclination to glorify the Lord, right? So that is the highest thing. And then further, he actually makes the point that the real benefit is if you study all the Shastras, and it is conclusively established. I have already done the research. Sages have already done the research. You don't need to study all the Shastras to come to a point. What is the highest conclusion? What's the highest conclusion? Anyone remembers what is the highest conclusion that Sanat Kumar tells the four Kumaras? He makes a point, the whole theme, I hope everyone is attentive and listening, the whole theme is that of developing rati to the Lord, right? Developing rati to the Lord. So he says the ultimate benefit for everyone is developing that rati. But that is also means one has to develop detachment from the body. So both these, the vairagya aspect plus the rati, the attachment to the Lord, that's the ultimate benefit. And then we see, yesterday, our last class, we discussed that how Sanat Kumar first focuses on Gyan Mishra Bhakti, right? It is like the verses are so much in Bhakti, but the goal that Sanat Kumar actually says is that of Santa Rasa, right? That Santa Rasa, right? So that's the point. And then we read different verses where he actually talks of having faith, being inquisitive, applying Bhakti Yoga in your life, worshipping the Lord. One point was really nice very nice point, but one point to remember is Vina Harer Guna Piyushapana. Our life should be molded in such a way that Vina Harer, without having without drinking that nectar, Piyushapana, right? Drinking the nectar of Harikatha, we feel, oh, my life is useless. We cannot live peacefully without having that everyday dose of Harikatha. So that's a very nice point that Sanat Kumar, that even we, practically can think that, oh, if one day we did not read Bhagavatam, did not relish Bhagavatam, that means, really, is that what is the value of the day if we haven't really drunk the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam? And that could be just one word, and we're like, oh, such a beautiful word. And we develop the appreciation, and yes, But without that, we should always feel like, oh, I didn't drink the nectar today. Something is missing in my life, right? So that's what Sanat Kumar says. And then he talks of being non-violent, not criticizing others, anindaya. That was a quality that we discussed last time, right? Even Prabhupada explained, even other religions, we don't want to criticize as such. Maybe their philosophies, we may criticize the philosophy and we say like, oh, what they're understanding, but people are, according to different modes and different faith, they are actually practicing whatever they're practicing. So, we gave the example of Prabhupada, his conversation with Christians, and he says what? Be a good Christian. Right? Whatever your faith in Jesus Christ is there, okay, follow the instructions of Jesus Christ. Thou shalt not kill. And that's the point that Prabhupada always came up to. And then he actually, we came to a point. So if one is constantly hearing the Lord's qualities, which are like ornaments, like he says, Karna, what's the word? Hare Muhus Tatpara Karna Pura Gunabhidanena Vijrambramanaya. So he says Vijramanaya. That is, you're hearing the qualities of the Lord. That by the word I find it very interesting. Last time also we discussed Vijramanaya. That it's increasing hearing, increasing our hearing. So I was thinking of this point that someone during this week, that point came to me that when we are in our path of bhakti, initially let's say, okay, I am hearing one class every day, But as we progress in bhakti, our point should be we should be hearing more and more, and that's why the word Vijrambanaya, that constantly hearing, and that you're increasing the quantity of hearing, the quality of hearing, the absorption in hearing. And so if you do that, then one develops detachment. So final point is one develops detachment from the body and one develops rati. So finally, Bhagavatam again and again and again comes to only one point. What is that point? Hearing Krishna Katha, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. How many times, how many verses throughout Srimad Bhagavatam we come to the point that finally we need to hear as much as possible. We need to bathe our consciousness with Harikatha. That is the only way to actually progress in bhakti. And Harinam, Harikatha, right? Both of them. So Um, yeah. And then he said, if you do this, then what happens? There's destruction of the subtle body. I mean, that's that technical part we discussed last time. That, yes, we have a gross body, but then that is a subtle body. And in one of the verses, we saw there are 5 kinds of ignorance, right? And that Prabhupada explained can be applicable to the gross body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, or to the subtle body. And we read of 5 kinds of ignorance for the subtle body. So all these can be destroyed just by that one focus on one thing, increasingly hearing Harikatha. Right? So everything. So, in another place of Bhagavatam, how Prabhupada says, we dissolve the subtle body. A subtle body is made of mind, intelligence, false ego. So that material mind, material intelligence, that false ego, we dissolve that. Like, here it is talking of how we destroy that subtle body. Because, see, the whole point, why our existence in this material world is because of the desires that are there in the subtle body. I mean, the mind is actually the channel that is storing all the material desires. And all our gross body that we get lifetime after lifetime is dependent on what is on your mind. Isn't it? I mean, like you say, our program, we're discussing this point that how the mind is actually in the heart, right? And this is the mind that that stores all our material desires. It's like that hard disk that is storing all the impressions for so many lifetimes. And based on what is there in our mind, that determines your next body. And then gross body. This morning I was hearing Prabhupada making the point that as long as we have material desires, we will get one body after another. And Prabhupada was making the point, that we don't make a desire zero. And he said, the definition of bhakti is anyabhilasya sunam. That's what Prabhupada was quoting that verse. So, all these material desires, where are they stored? In the material mind. Therefore, here, the whole theme is what? Destroy your subtle body. Destroy all these desires. Right? And by hearing Krishna Katha, we may not, sometimes we hear a class and it's like, yeah, I'm doing it just as a, I should do it and hence I'm doing it. But we may not really appreciate what is happening internally in our consciousness, in our subtle body. Because lifetimes of impressions are there in the subtle body. And we don't even know what is there, That's why, like, sometimes at some phase of our life, some desire may come and be like, I never had this desire before. Where did that come from? It was all stored, it was hidden, but something at some point of your life has triggered that desire and that's come out. So many unlimited desires, impressions are there in our consciousness, in our mind. But by hearing Harikatha, we are destroying all these things. That's why we make the point that Shrimatamsa Katha Krishna Punya Shravan Kindam Hridyansa Abadani Vidunoti Suru. Vidunoti. It is washing away. And one may say, I'm hearing, but it's not happening. No, it is happening, but we are not realizing how the cleaning is happening. Krishna himself is doing the cleaning. It is so powerful. So that destruction of the material subtle body, that's what he talks about. And how do we know this is happening? What are the symptoms that we know we are progressing in bhakti? That subtle body is being destroyed. So based on what I said, what would the symptom be? Anyone?
More ruchi to hear Krishna Katha.
Okay, yeah, more taste of hearing. So how Sanat Kumar actually explains, the first thing he actually says, then, our desire to gratify our senses. As we progress in bhakti, the vairagya will develop and we'll be like, I don't have taste. And, we see it practically in our spiritual life. There are certain things that were like, strong temptations for us. After some time, it's like, yeah, boring. One big, those are from India, we have this big thing that, cricket. I was like, I have to watch every match of cricket. Well, after some time, it's like, that's okay. I'm boring. I don't want to waste so much. So a whole day of cricket match or whatever, like, I don't want to. So you see there are certain temptations, and after that, it is so. First practical thing that we see of destruction of subtle body is our desire to gratify our senses. Those temptations, they become distasteful. Right? Distasteful. That's first thing. Then second point he actually says, then internally we have Sochati kankshati, right? I mean, that is always happening. Sochati, hankering and lamentation, right? We are always like something, oh, we're not satisfied. We are like, oh, maybe if this was different, I'll practice Krishna consciousness nicely, right? Even in bhakti, we say like, oh, only if this changes, then I'll practice. That's again hankering. Or, oh, maybe this should have happened, or, then lamentation. So, the hankering, lamentation. So, the result of destruction, the second one, internally, this hankering and lamentation will reduce. Right? These are so practical points that we can see in our life of bhakti. The desire for gratifying the senses reduces, our internal hankering, lamentation, that reduces. And the third point he actually says that as we are getting purified, as we are hearing, as the subtle body is getting destroyed, our connection to the super soul gets clearer and clearer. We can hear the super soul. We're talking about this point last week, that how when the mind, again, like how Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter makes the point, jitatmanaha, when you can conquer the mind, right? Jita, you over victory over the mind, then what happens? You can hear the Paramatma. You can talk to the Paramatma. So same point is explained here, that because destruction of subtle body means destruction of mind, and by the destruction of the mind, you can talk to Paramatma. Krishna, you can directly talk to Krishna. And we see that, we gave the examples last time, how Prabhupada said, where do you get your money from? The reporter asked. And Prabhupada said, I get it from Krishna. Who tells you who to select the leader? Krishna tells me. For Prabhupada, he is directly in contact with the Paramatma, with Krishna himself. Right? So that is the result. And practically in our spiritual life, can we see that? Yes, we will see more and more inspiration that, oh, maybe I should serve Krishna this way, or maybe this service, and then this service, and this service. Where is all that coming from? As we progress in bhakti, that inspiration from Krishna, we can practically see in our life that, oh, all of a sudden we are like chanting and we get, maybe this service I'll do, it will be so nice, and we get it. And where is it coming from? Paramatma is actually inspiring us, right? So these three results that we can practically see is a result of destruction of subtle body, and that's what Sanat Kumar is talking about, right? Sense gratification, internal hankering, lamentation. Third, our contact with Paramatma. Okay, and then the last part we discussed last time is he talks of like what does so we talked of destruction of the subtle body. What if we actually engage in sense gratification? What happens to the subtle body, right? So the mind has like Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, Bhagavad Gita says. So what is there in the mind? Raga, which leads to Bhaya or Krodha, right? These two things. Only three main emotions we have. But where is all that is coming from the mind, right? Coming from the heart, right? The heart or mind. I mean, Bhagavatam uses mind and heart interchangeably because the mind is in the heart, right? So all that is coming from the heart. So then Sanat Kumar is talking of if one Indriya Vishaya Krishna Dhyayatam, similar to Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayatam Vishamam Pumsam. When we actually contemplate on sense objects, then what happens? The mind becomes agitated. As soon as it's like raga, that feeling of like, oh, I'm attached to this, what happens in the mind? That emotion of raga, right? So one way, if you consider emotion as an energy, it is said that the mind becomes this unsteady energy. It's just like waves, Like when we gratify our senses, what if you consider our heart as like a lotus? When we gratify our senses, what happens? It's like the lotus closes. Lotus closes. And we can practically see that, like the example. I mean, we see Gaur Gopal Prabhu, he gives this example that he says, he has this illustrations when he does in the classes, like he took a glass of water, right? And then he added salt to it. And then he sipped it. And as soon as, because small water, you sipped it and you're like, oh, so salty. Then he took the same thing, water, he transferred to a bigger pot. And then he added more water. Then he sipped it. Oh, not so salty. Then he added two more. And then, not so salty. It hardly tastes salt. And then he was like pouring water over it and it was like kind of overflowing. And he said, now I don't even feel salt. And that example is so nice because when our mind is, because of sense gratification, is contracted, then even a little disturbance from outside, we get agitated. And that's what here Sanat Kumar is talking. He says the mind becomes ashipta manaha because it's closed. It is so small container, any small thing, and then the waves. Like you take a small glass of water, even slight wind, you can see the wave, the water moving. But a bigger container, wind flows, not so much, right? So sense gratification causes our mind to contract, and because of that, there is agitation. And when agitation is there, then power of intelligence, chetanam harate buddhe, our intelligence is harate, is taken away. And then our memory is lost, right? Anuspritas chintam, and then this is actually the greatest. So the greatest harm to the soul that Sanat Kumar is saying, that thinking that other than our self-realization, sense gratification is actually better. When we feel there's more taste in sense gratification rather than self-realization, that is the greatest harm to the soul. There's a purport in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If anyone knows that verse, maybe you can let me know. Can't remember right now. In the purport, Prabhupada makes a point. The same point. He says the greatest problem for us as spiritual is to think that material sense gratification is more attractive than our spiritual. It's like same point Prabhupada is actually making one of the purports in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Maybe you can find that. So, so that's all he talks about sense gratification, and then therefore he actually says, so what kind of sense objects should we avoid, right? And what are the sense objects we should avoid? If someone asks you this question, what are the sense objects you should avoid? What is the answer? Anyone?
Could it be the five sense organs, like don't see stuff that is not Krishna consciously friendly, don't eat food that is not prasadam, no, don't listen to things that is not related to
Right.
Krishna.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yeah. So that is anukulasa sankalpa, pratikulasa. What is pratikul to bhakti? We want to reject it. So here, how Sanat Kumar actually explained, he says the the things which are an obstacle to dharma, artha, kam, and moksha, those things let's neglect it. First, basic thing, and that's why, we mentioned this point that Prabhupada, why did he establish the four regulative principles? Because it is directly from this verse where Sanat Kumar is saying, first of all, dharma, what are the four principles? Austerity, mercy, cleanliness, truthfulness. Right? These are four pillars of dharma. These four things are the exact opposite things that break this is illicit gambling, meat eating, intoxication. Right? Four opposites. We read this in the first chapter. So hence, first thing, stop. Stop this. Four things. Right? Give up that. So regulation. So regulative principles. Right? So he talks about this. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says that activities that lead to, he focuses on dharma projita kaitavatra, ujjita, giving up dharma artha kam moksha. All those things is actually here. So two levels of explanation is there. And then of the dharma artha kam moksha, which is the most important? The moksha. Because dharma artha kam, anyway, as you die, it is over. But moksha is something beyond that. Right? So we read all that. So that's the verse. So I think that's where we stop. Isn't that right? Which was the last verse you read? Anyone knows?
36 was the next.
36. Did we discuss 36?
Yes.
Okay, so 37. Everyone okay? So let's take a pause. So is it okay? The overview so far?
I have a question, bro. That you said, or it's saying that anything that obstructs dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, we should give it up. But like kama is sense gratification, right? So why would we? Doesn't make sense. Like we should things that obstruct our sense gratification, we should give up.
So
Like anything
the
that
point is, okay, dharma, artha, kam, moksha, right? So for, we say, okay, human form of life, we are not going to the bhakti section right now, right? We are talking of something which is lower. For human form of life, the Vedas focus on what? This 4 Purusharthas, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You do Dharma, that will lead to Artha, and from that Artha, you will get sense gratification, but as a regulated sense gratification. And when you get frustrated, you aspire for Moksha, right? So these are 4 Vedic principles. Now, what are the items which is directly opposite to these 4 things? And that is the 4 like regulated principles. So first, we give up these 4. Like an example to this is, let's say someone is like, practicing some kind of sport. And then like initially, when he's in the first, second class, then the teacher tells him that, oh, don't do this. It's not good. And then after, let's say he becomes a professional player. I mean, that principle of don't do this is already there. It's already included. So that's the point, that those things which are direct obstruction to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which is these 4 things, illicit sex, intolerance, that we should certainly give up. Is that?
So kama in this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha means kama according to the scriptures, regulated sense gratification. We shouldn't give up.
Sense gratification.
We shouldn't give up principles that are according to scriptures that regulate our sense gratification.
We shouldn't give up. I don't understand your question.
Because he's saying give up things that obstruct Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha.
Yeah.
But we also know we should give up Kama, right? We should give up sense gratification. So the way I understand it is give up. We should give up.
Right. So if you say, okay, now I understand your question. So if you see, like, okay, we are talking about levels, right? So first, initial, someone is learning, don't do this, right? So that principle of regulated sense gratification, what means anything obstructing that? Unregulated sense gratification. So that is something we want to give it. Right? Krishna also makes the point, right? He says in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that one should not become attached. There are principles for India's arte. There are principles to regulate. What's the word? Principles to regulate attraction and aversion, right? So those things, there's a stumbling blocks on the principle. That is applicable now and also in advanced stage, right? So that regulated sense gratification is actually okay at one level. So anything obstructing that, what obstructs that? Unregulated sense gratification. So that we give it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone okay? Okay. Any other points? You understand the point of the mind? I find it very fascinating that how the mind, with sense gratification, it actually shrinks. And then any small disturbance, immediately we get agitated. Have you practically experienced this? Yes? No? I have certainly experienced it. If you're, let's say due to some reason unhappy or a little bit angry, and then even the smallest agitation, someone says something, and it's like, normally you would say like, it's okay. But now you're already agitated, and small thing, it's like a spark, and you're like, hey, and then you could get angry and become a big thing of that. So normally you wouldn't say that, but now because of the sense gratification, your heart is like this. So one small thing. But when our consciousness, when you practice bhakti, what are we doing? It's like the heart is like a lotus, the mind, heart like a lotus. So this closed sense gratification closes it, but when you practice bhakti, it's like opening of the lotus. Then when the lotus is open in Krishna consciousness, where your consciousness is there, chanting, we are actively engaged in Krishna consciousness, the lotus is kind of. So if something happens, then it's like, it's okay. Sorry, Krishna is there, or okay, Krishna is giving me this criticism for something, or this is everything what Krishna is giving is for my purification. Like immediately that conception changes. It's so powerful, and like how Parikshit Maharaj, like, oh, I'm going to die in 7 days. I mean, he was like, oh, thank you, Krishna. I mean, it would have been hard for me to detach, but you made it easy. I mean, who can say such a thing? Right? Who can say such a thing? Only when the consciousness is open. And that's why for these pure devotees, because they are actively Krishna conscious, their heart is open. So something here and there, criticism comes, negative term, they're not even agitated. So, okay. I mean, now, if you say the age of quarrel, right? I mean, small things, so much people get agitated. I mean, even on the, like, driving, one small thing someone does, and people are like honking and shouting and like cursing, and small thing. Because everyone is so absorbed in self-gratification, their heart is like this. One small thing and start shouting. They're like, come on, it's a small thing. Just go do your thing. Like, but people, and this is why, like, small things become such a big deal in this world. Right? Okay, everyone okay? Comments, questions, realizations?
No, Prabhu, I have one question.
Yeah.
So, Prabhu, like when our desires are not fulfilled, then I feel agitated and angry. That point is clear. But when my desires are fulfilled, why I'll be angry or agitated? Like most of the time we say, like whatever my desire is fulfilled, my heart is filled, whatever, whether it was something to eat or my desire is fulfilled. So like I got satisfaction, like we generally say in Hindi, right? So dil bhar gaya, right?
Yeah.
So that part I'm not getting.
Yeah. See, if you go to the verse Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, right? Only three. Material emotions means only three, right? So Raga means attachment. So that's some desire. And then you are saying, okay, the desire is fulfilled, you feel satisfied. But actually, see, it says like from Rag, only two things happen. Either Bhaya or Krodha. So when there's some kind of impediment to your desire being fulfilled, you want something and it's like, oh, maybe this is there, this could be a problem, you become fearful, right? And now, if you're not able to take away that impediment, you become angry. So only three versions. Now to your point that, oh yeah, I feel satisfied. But is that really satisfaction? Because that desire is fulfilled and immediately what do? Okay, what is next desire on my list? Let me try to gratify that. So the real satisfaction that we can get is from Krishna consciousness. All the material, it may appear that, okay, I had this, it was good, and but are you really satisfied at a deeper level? If you're really satisfied, you'll be like, okay, that's it. I don't want anything. I just want to, like sometimes you're in kirtans and you're like, oh, this is so good. I just want this never to end. Like just, and you feel so, that deeper level of that spiritual satisfaction is what we are looking for. Material satisfaction, again we say, yes, you may get some satisfaction here and there, but again, how long is it going to last? Right? First, time is so short, right? Second, the intensity of the satisfaction. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, you ate something nice, but where is it? Where is that taste? It's already gone. It's over. And it's just like when the food touched your tongue for that fraction of a second, you felt so tasty. How long was it? All right, and how intense was that feeling? Not so much. So if you consider the time duration, the intensity, it is like almost, and that's why Bhagavatam makes the point that when you talk of material satisfaction, if you have experienced spiritual satisfaction, the material satisfaction is negligible compared to spiritual satisfaction. But if you are only experiencing material satisfaction, then you'll say, oh yeah, I'm happy. Right? That's what people say. That's because we haven't had the real spiritual satisfaction. When you have that, then material things seem insignificant. Does that answer your question, bro?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, it's a high taste, and as you mentioned, like two things, you is never fulfilled. You have more desire. Even if fulfilled, sometimes you get scared also. What if I lose it again? So yes, it makes sense. Thank you, Prabhu.
So, I was wondering, so do devotees, we also experience this thing, like, say, like, if you have something extraordinary coming ahead, your mind is not it's not resting, even if apparently looking like sleeping, like Indudumna Maharaj mentioned that Prahlad Prabhu used to make tunes while sleeping, so that is 100% absorption. So, like, since we are not really surrounded by karmis as such, we interact mainly with devotees. How do we see this? And understand that this could be external, internal ecstasies, not material mindic agitations like that, I mean,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, what you're talking about, so see, we are talking of dissolving the material subtle body. And when we are dissolving, what is happening? We are developing our spiritual desires, right? So if someone like, okay, well, sleeping is like, making tunes of Hare Krishna. I mean, that is completely, that's like totally on a spiritual platform. So that has one way, nothing to do with the material mind. You are like above the material mind. But, again, depending on our level of Krishna consciousness, we may go above, but then again,
and
we will come back to the material mind. But at that state, like let's say we are with some advanced devotees. I mean, just when we are absorbed in serving them, and we forget everything, right? We forget even our hunger, thirst. We're just like, oh, Guru Maharaj is here. And then you forget everything. Sleeping also you forget. You can sleep 2 hours, but still you're going on and on. Right? And because you are one way above all the material feelings of the subtle body, and you are like right at that moment completely absorbed in spiritual seva, and that should be the samadhi is basically always being in that state. I mean, see Parikshit himself, like initially because of thirst he got cursed, and then now what is he saying? Bhagavatam is so relishable. Please don't give a break for like, oh, let's take a break and have prasadam break. No, no, no. No water break, no prasadam break. Keep going on, keep going on. So, doesn't he have a material body? He still has. But the material subtle body is dissolved at the state that even the needs of the material body is actually not even being felt by Parikshit. And maybe we have at least some instances of that experience when we are so absorbed in seva. I mean, when like you come to a temple and you're cooking for deities, or like or doing some long extended period of seva, you even forget like eating. You're just let's keep going on. Oh, let's do this project. We experience that. So the subtle body is really getting suppressed at that time. And to some extent even destroyed. But because then we come back to the material, and then again we are, bringing up those material impressions. But samadhi means just always being in that state. That's okay. Okay, so let's continue. Text number 37.
Tattvam narendra jagatam cha dehendriyasu dishanat mabhir avritanam yakshetra vittapayaridi vishvagavihi pratyakchakashti bhagavam stam avehi sosmi.
Yes, ma'am. Hare Krishna. Sanat Kumara advised the king, therefore, my dear King Prithu, try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within everyone's heart along with the individual soul in each and every body, either moving or not moving. The individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body and subtle body made of the life, air, and intelligence. Hare Krishna.
And it's very interesting. We are going to start our verse with Saha Asmi. You know this word? Like how the Mayavadis say, I am, you are that. You are that. So, I mean, once someplace someone had a t-shirt saying that, you are that. Basically that means you are God. I was hearing in class when Prabhu was saying that he was doing book distribution. He said like, the front of the shirt said, I was an atheist before, and then ... And he was like, oh, maybe before he was atheist, now he's changed. And then the back of the shirt said, I was an atheist before, now I have understood I am God. So the Prabhu was saying, initially there was, okay, I was an atheist and he's accepting that. So there was some hope. And then the back of his shirt said, I am God. No hope. It's finished. Mayavadi. So why here this Saha Asmi, I am that. So here, actually the connection Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes this point that he talked of destroying the subtle body. Now, if someone is destroying the subtle body without developing the qualities of bhakti, what happens? That is the point of Sayujya Mukti, or merging into the impersonal Brahman. So, since he talked of destruction of the subtle body, now he is going to say, oh, if you do this without bhakti, what is the result? Right? And hence this verse and the next verse is talking of bhakti mrishya gyan. Right? Karma mrishya bhakti, bhakti mrishya karma, gyan mrishya bhakti we read. No, gyan mrishya karma. Right? Oh, sorry, bhakti mrishya gyan. So bhakti mrishya. So that's what this is. So predominance is gyan. The goal here is actually sayujya. And everyone understands why all of a sudden from destruction of the body, from gyan mrishya bhakti, he switched to this. Because he's making the point, if that is your liberation, but if you don't have the attachment to Krishna, this is the result, right? So then he says, therefore, O best of the kings, Narendra, in the body, right, Deha, Tastusam Jagatam, immovable and moving, right? So covered by, so both, if you consider body like immovable or moving, then covered by what? Deha, Indriya, Asa, Dishana, Atmabhihi. So this body which is covered by the spirit soul which is covered by body, senses, life, air, intelligence, false ego. Avehi, try to understand that yaha kshetravit, right? We have seen this word kshetravit. Where does kshetravit come from?
Bhagavad Gita, right, Prabhu?
13th chapter, right? One who knows the kshetra, right? One who knows the kshetra. So kshetra is what? This body. Who is the knower of the kshetra? Who's the knower of the kshetra?
Kshetragya.
Yeah, kshetravit. Who is?
The soul, or the super soul.
Both, right? Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter. First he says the soul, and he says, oh, also the super soul. Both of them are kshetravit. So here, that's the point here. He says kshetravit or kshetragya. That means the soul and super soul. Saha asmi. I am that, right? So Riddhi, within the heart, everywhere, Vishrak, Pratyak, in every hair follicle. Chakasti, Bhagwan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So basically here, he's saying one should try to cultivate spiritual values by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead exactly as Paramatma. So one, here the focus in Bhakti Mrishya Gyan, because Gyan is the emphasis, one understands I am non-different from the Paramatma. Right? I am non-different from Paramatma. And here Prabhupada, hence in the purpose, he says, two ways of advancing spiritual culture. One is by the method of impersonalist philosophers, right? Where they come to a conclusion that the soul and the super soul are one. I am of the same. Therefore, Prabhupada says the Vedic injunction, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. Soham, I am the same. Right? So, coming from a materialistic platform to come to a realization that I am spiritual, that is progress. And hence Prabhupada says, two kinds of ways of advancing, right? So, and then Prabhupada also quotes Bhagavad Gita 13.2, and he says, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Iti Abhidhyate. The body is a Kshetra, and two proprietors, the soul and the super soul, Kshetravit or Kshetragya. Right? So, when we rightly take the direction of super soul, our life becomes successful. Right? And then Prabhupada actually makes this point. The presence of the super soul and soul within the body can be perceived by anyone. When the soul is present, then the body is shining, fresh. When the soul is absent, it immediately starts to decompose. Right? This is a difference. The difference between a dead body and a living body. In a moment, someone is there. In a moment, someone is not there. What's happened? The soul is left. Right? So that is the presence of the soul and the super soul. Right? So that's it, and we'll continue, and then maybe we will understand the whole, these two verses together. 38.
Yasmin nidam sad asad atmataya vibhati maya viveka vidstrajivahi buddhihi Tam nityamukta parishuddha vishuddha sattvam pratyudha karma kalila prakritim prapadye. Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself as one with the cause and effect within this body, but one who has transcended the illusory energy by deliberate consideration, which clears the misconception of a snake for a rope, can understand that the Paramatma is eternally transcendental to the material creation and situated in pure internal energy. Thus, the Lord is transcendental to all material contamination. Unto him only must one surrender.
Yes. Okay. So basically, see, as soon as he is brought up that one way you can think of like a focus on the oneness, right? I mean, Mayavadi is what? Just focus on the oneness. Difference, we don't look at it. Yeah, I am God. I am that one, right? That's the focus of priest. But immediately in 38, in Gyan, what do we realize? In Sankhya, how does it progress? Okay, not this, not this, not I'm not this body, I'm not the senses, I'm not, intelligence, and then oh, I'm spiritual. And that's okay, we are all spiritual. So that oneness emphasis, but immediately in the next verse, he actually gives the difference between the soul and the super soul. And what he gives 5 qualities of the super soul, which is different from that also. Right? So he says, Yasmin yet asat atma. The Lord manifests himself as sat asat, the cause and effect of everything. Can you say the soul is the cause and effect of everything? No. Right? We are not the cause. The Paramatma is the cause of everything. So therefore, there's a difference between the Atma and the Paramatma. And then one who has Viveka Vibhuti, who has transcended Maya by deliberate consideration. So basically, in Gyan, one will come to a conclusion: Atma and okay, everything is spiritual. But then further, if one deliberately thinks, then he can understand. Yes, I am spiritual, but there has to be one spiritual who is the source of everything. So by the deliberate consideration, and then here it says, by not mistaking a serpent for a rope. And this is what the Mayavadis say, right? They actually use this example of like rope and snake. And they say like, oh, you went outside and you saw something and you said, oh, it's a snake. And then next day morning you woke up, oh, it's just a rope, right? So the point is that mistaken identity, right? We are thinking that I am that, right? So by not mistaking a serpent for a rope, has buddhi to understand the Paramatma is nitya, eternal, mukta, liberated, parishuddha, uncontaminated, vishuddha, pure, and pratyudvada, 6 qualities. Pratyudvada, karma and kalila, transcendental to fruitive activities and impurities, and then last one is prakritim, is situated in spiritual energy. So Paramatma, these 6 qualities are actually makes that personality different from the Atma. Therefore, what we should do? Prapadya. Therefore, it says what Bhagavad Gita verse, which Bhagavad Gita verse is being referred here? Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. When a yogi, a jnani, comes to a point of that differentiated wisdom, right, that deliberate consideration, then he sees the difference between the soul and the super soul. Right? So that's the point here. So Prabhupada hence he starts the purport. This verse specifically stated to defy Mayavadi conclusion. Right? So oneness emphasized in previous verse, this is pointing out the difference. Right? And Prabhupada says like Atma and Paramatma, they are 2 friends, but Paramatma is above illusion. But the Atma, because it is so minute, it can actually get overcome by the Tatastha Shakti. So Prabhupada talks about Bahiranga Shakti, right? So we are Tatastha Shakti, but because we are so tiny, minute, we can get overcome by the Bahiranga Shakti. But the Paramatma is never overcome by the Bahiranga Shakti. Therefore, what is the duty of the Atma? To surrender to Paramatma. And Prabhupada quotes 1866, Sarvadharma Pratitya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vaja. He quotes 719, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. We already made that point. And when we surrender, then Bhakti actually starts, right? So bhakti starts. So prapadya means the process of devotion. So bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti. That vasudeva sarvam sa mahatma sudurlabha. So that jnani who comes to a platform of bhakta, that is very rare. Okay. Now, everyone with me? Only 2 technical verses. Now we'll come back to sweet bhakti verse.
Oh, you said that these are the difference like Nitya, Mukta, Parishuddha, and Vishuddha Sattva, right? But how is this different from at the Atma and Paramatma level? These 4 are in Atma also. Atma is also Nitya. Atma is also Mukta. It is always Parishuddha.
Yeah,
So,
but see, we say like Atma is Nitya, but that is a problem now that we are due to false ego not really a Nitya. But for Paramatma, that's never the case. Paramatma is always in that eternal state. Paramatma never has a false ego that, oh, I am this body, and after some time you say, oh, I'm going to die now. And Paramatma doesn't have that. So yes, the qualities are there, but the jiva is overcome with this false ego, and that's the problem. Yes, in the liberated state of the jiva, then eternity is there. But at that point, there is no need of the difference. What knowledge is required at this point, when the jiva is liberated, then the knowledge is clear. Then there is no need to say, okay, I can be overcome at this. At that point, already surrender is there. But in the conditioned state, we don't see ourselves, and hence the next quality is what? Liberated. Are we liberated? So that's the point. Uncontaminated consciousness is contaminated. Are we pure? Not yet. Right? All the delusion. Is that okay? Okay. Next verse. So now we'll come back to pure bhakti. Right? So just 2 verses where he focuses on. And why did he discuss this? Because he was talking of destruction of subtle body. So if that is without bhakti, he's already saying the problem is that tattvam asi. But then there also he pointed out the difference, and now he'll come back to pure bhakti. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually explains that because Sanat Kumar used the word sosmi, right? Sosmi, tattvam asi, right? That, and then Prithu is like, what? You're talking of Mayavadi? No. I don't want to hear. And that's what, Sarvam Bhattacharya Prabhupada actually quotes Sarvam Bhattacharya. After he was transformed, even the word mukti he could not tolerate. Tatenu kampam susavishamano bunjana evam kritam kam ridva gopuri vidanan namaste jivetayo bhakti pade sabdaya bhak. And he said, Mahaprabhu, this is mukti is not right. It should be bhakti. We should change Bhagavatam verse, write bhakti instead of mukti. See, the mood of a devotee is he does not even want to hear that kind of mukti. And that same thing Prithu Maharaj. He doesn't want to hear that sosmi. So what, sosmi? No. I am not him. He is so superior. I am so insignificant. And I want to have that realization that how I am a spark and he is the original. I want to serve him. So hence, because he saw that Prithu Maharaj was not happy hearing the last 2 verses. So immediately he said, okay, I know you are a pure devotee. Let me quote a verse directly in pure bhakti. So, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, Bhakti Mishra Gyan, now pure bhakti. Conclusion, right? 39. So beautiful verse. A verse for memorization also actually.
Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvan narikto tadvan narikta matayo yatayo pirudha shroto ganastam aranam bhajavasudevam. Divya, need to remember.
the devotees were always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because it is very difficult for non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva.
So, so the overview, first verse, the first instruction, verse 22 up to 37 is Gyan Vrishabha. That the result of that is Shantarati, right? Next two verses, Bhakti Mishra Gyan. The result is Sayujya Mukti. Now, pure Bhakti, right? Pure Bhakti. So, what is this verse saying? Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhakti. Just how the starting of the verse itself is so beautiful. So pada means feet. Then pankaja, the feet are like beautiful, like lotus. And then palasa, petals or toes, Prabhupada says. Right? Petals or toes. So those who are always engaged in the service of that toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? The toes look like petals. How beautiful are the toes of the Lord, like petals. Then, if you are engaged in service, then what happens? Vilasa Bhaktya, devotional service. Then Karmasaya. So our whole theme in the last few verses is that sense gratification that we talk to the heart, the mind, right? Karmasayam, that means a desire, material desire, fruitive activities. All that, what does it form? Gratitam. Gratitam means hard knot. Right? All those material desires are like a hard knot in our heart. But Udgrata Yanti Santaha. But those are devotees, Shantaha, they can very easily break the heart knot. Is there another verse you can remember from Bhagavatam where it talks of how devotees break the hard knot in the heart?
Hridayantasto hi abhadrani.
Hridayantasto hi abhadrani. Yeah, abhadra is there. Okay. But there are like specific verses which talk of the hard knot in the heart.
So in the same sequence, like where it was first canto, second chapter, the knots in the heart, Chindanti was something that
Chindanti sarva samsaya. Hridyantastu, no.
no.
What is it?
That is,
Chindanti sarva samsaya, right? Yeah. So basically, if you see,
Vidyate hridaya granthis.
yeah, vidyate hridaya granthi, right? That's the verse. So granthi is again there, the knot, right? Vidyate hridaya granthis, right? So actually in text 15.
1 to 21.
Yeah. So in text 15 also, before the starting of the sequence, also that word is there. Yet anudhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandhanam. There also it starts with the knot. Granthi is the knot. And then it goes through the whole sequence and ends with that verse 22, where again it says, Ato vaikava nityam. Was it 22? No, not 22. 21. Vidyate hridaya granthis. Right? So between that 15 granthi and 21 granthi, the whole process of bhakti is there. Right? So that's the knot we are talking about. So same thing, the knot in the heart can actually, for devotees, easily we can break up the knot. Right? How? By serving the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. But on the other hand, tadva na rikta matayo. Rikta matayo means people who are devoid of devotional service. Yatopi ruddha. Even if they try very hard, try, oh, I want to break this, like the Gyanis and the Yogis, right? They may try so hard, but Shruto Ganas Tam Aram Bhajavasadevam. But still the waves of sense gratification cannot be stopped for the Gyanis and the Yogis. Therefore, Bhajavasudeva. Therefore, you worship Vasudeva, right? Okay. So that's a verse here. And this Aranam means take shelter of that Lord who is worthy taking shelter of. Right? So Prabhupada in this purport makes a very nice point of how we understand material desires. Right? I already made the point that in a heart, if it is material desires, it's like the heart is closed. And even small thing happens, there's agitation. Right? That's what Sanat Kumar is saying. So now, how do we stop those waves of material desire? And Prabhupada gives an example, when the rivers flow into the ocean. The rivers have waves. Right? The rivers flowing, there's waves. But when it's flowing into the ocean, when it's connecting with the ocean, then the waves of the ocean are so powerful that they actually overcome the waves of the river. In front of the waves of the ocean, the waves of the rivers are like, it like kind of covers, and you cannot feel the waves of the river. So same point is actually for us practically, the Prabhupada explains, he says, devotees are so, the bhaktas by their transcendental devotional service to unto lotus become so overwhelmed with transcendental bliss that automatically, Prabhupada using automatically, their desires for material enjoyment stop. Right? When we are so engaged in like making plans for like, let's do this seva for Krishna, let's go out, distribute so many books, we become so engaged in that, the material desires, we don't even experience it. Right? So that is the way, and hence Prabhupada says that waves of desire for material enjoyment are so strong, it cannot be stopped by any other process other than Bhakti Yoga. Unless we get this higher taste, we cannot stop those waves of material desire. Therefore, the Jnanis and Yogis, they simply struggle to stop these waves. How much ever they try, they struggle. Right? Therefore, the only point is Bhaja Vasudeva. And then Prabhupada says, as long as one continues to try to artificially stop the waves of desire, he'll certainly be defeated. If you artificially try, you'll be defeated. So therefore, our only way is take to bhakti, try to get the higher taste. Right? And because devotional service employs the superior desire, to try to stop desires is impossible. Right? Therefore, no artificial attempt to stop desire. Desire becomes a source, this is so nice. Desire becomes a source of spiritual enjoyment under the protection of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. You meditate on that sentence for a minute. What Prabhupada is saying. Desire becomes a source of spiritual enjoyment under the protection of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a beautiful sentence. That means when we get spiritual desire of doing some seva, right? We are like, yes, I want to do that. And just that desire to serve Krishna, that becomes like, oh yes, I can serve Krishna. That gives so much bliss to our heart that, no more material desire. All those material waves are already conquered. Therefore, Prabhupada said, automatically, by cultivating the spiritual desire, by engaging in that bhakti, we experience so much transcendental bliss that automatically these material desires can be stopped. Okay, a devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord that stagnant material desires become overflooded by desire to serve the Lord. And we have practically seen this, right? Come to a temple and get engaged in some seva. Now, let's say, before coming to the temple, you had a desire to watch something mundane. You're like, oh, I should see that. Now, when you come to a temple and you're engaged in seva, do you think of those things? Just that engagement in seva, that bliss from seva, it's like you just forget all those material desires. And that's the point Prabhupada is saying. And then Prabhupada concludes by quoting Yamunacharya. He says, Yad avadi mama chitta Krishna padaravindo nava nava rasa dhamna udyatam rantum asit. Right? He says, Yad avadi mama cheta Krishna padaravindo. When my cheta, my consciousness is absorbed in Krishna padaravindayo. Nava nava rasa. And every moment I'm experiencing so much rasa, bliss. Right? Nava nava rasa. Tav avadi bata nari sangame. Smaryamane. And when I think of Nari Sangame, union with opposite sex, Bhavati Mukha Vikarata, my mouth, almost like it curls in this stage. Shushtu Nishti Vanamcha. How horrible. And how can that happen? Only when we get Nava Nava Rasa. That's the only way. Param Drisha Nivartate. So this is the verse that is pure bhakti. Pure bhakti means to get that taste in Krishna consciousness by being engaged in service to the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So pure bhakti is mentioned here. And we see this theme in Bhagavad Gita also. When Krishna talks of karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, he never uses the word sulabha. Only one place in Bhagavad Gita the word sulabha is there. Which verse? Anyone else? Chapter 8.
Rajavidya, Rajagopya.
No, with Sulabha?
So Sulabha. Okay.
Easy. It comes in
I was
8 chapter
thinking
text number 15. That's the only place where Krishna says, oh, this process is sulabha, easy. And what is that process? Bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga. Otherwise, these waves are so strong, material desires, that no other process can overcome it. Only by bhakti yoga, and hence this verse says, easily we can approach those by engaging bhakti, getting a taste of bhakti. Okay, next verse, text 40. So, anyway, if you want some little bit of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's his sweetness, so he says, Palasha means Lord's toes, right? Lord's toes. Then he says Vilasa, it says Vilasa, right? So, Palasha, right? Yet Pada Pankaja Palasa Vilasa Bhaktya. So, Vilasa Prabhupada translates as enjoyment. So, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says that Vilasa, he gives 3 different definitions for Vilasa. Vilasa, one means, yes, enjoyment, but the first definition he says is movement. Vilas also means to move. What is moving? The beauty of Krishna is increasing every moment. So that is a growth every moment. So Vilasa means that when we serve the lotus feet of the Lord, the toes of the Lord, every moment it keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. So we appreciate the beauty more and more and more. Then second, Vilasa also means various astonishing skills, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Like what? What service can you do to the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord? You can actually massage. You can put oil on the lotus feet of the Lord. You can put some ornaments on the lotus feet of the Lord. So that vilas, when you talk of seva, here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying you can directly serve. And those who dress rather Golokana, we have this experience. When you see a toes, and then they'll put like nice ornaments on the toes, maybe nice gopi dots, right? They'll have nice maybe anklets, right? And then other ornaments, and they dress the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's direct service. And vilas here means the direct service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Second meaning. Third vilas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, remembering the beauty of the lotus feet of the Lord. When we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, that Krishna is saying, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that vilas, that meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord is easily uprooting all the karmas. Right? So 3 definitions. One is vilas means always increasing beauty. Second means serving the Lord in so many different ways. And third is remembering the beauty of the Lord. This is the seva that we talk of. Right. Okay. Next verse, text 40. Everyone okay? Yes. Pure bhakti verses, always very pleasing to the heart. Okay, text 40.
Krichro mahaniha bhavarnavam aplavesham sadvarganakram asukhena titirshan sadvarganakram asukhena titirshanti tatvam harer bhagavato bhajaniyamangrim kritvodupam vyasanam uttara dushtararnam.
The ocean of nescience is very difficult to cross because it is infested with many dangerous sharks. Although those who are born devotees undergo severe austerities and penances to cross that ocean, we recommend that you simply take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like boats for crossing the ocean. Although the ocean is difficult to cross, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, you will overcome all dangers. Hare Krishna.
So again, a verse on pure bhakti, right? So basically here he talks about this material ocean. He says, Kricho Mahan Iha Bhava Arnava. Arnava, this verse we have seen others, a different verse also. What is Bhava Arnava? Bhava means this material world, Arnava means ocean. So this ocean of material existence, and he says, Aplave Sham, right? So those who are not devotees, who do not take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, for them it is kricha. Kricha means difficult. And how difficult? Mahan kricha. Those who do not take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, for them it is very difficult to cross this ocean of material existence. Why? Sadvarga. What are the 6 things which are obstacles to our crossing this ocean of material existence? And it says Sadvarga, these 6 senses, the 5 senses and the mind, they are so attracted to all these sense objects. Sadvarga Nakram, they are like sharks. Nakram means sharks. Asukhena tirshanti. Asukhena means with great difficulty. Tirshanti, crossover. To conquer these 6 senses, so five senses plus mind, is actually very, very difficult. Right? Therefore, because we have all these sharks in the ocean, very difficult to cross over the Bhava or Nava. So if the ocean is so difficult to cross with so many sharks, what is the best way to cross? You need a perfect boat. And what is a boat here? Then he says, Tattvam Harera Bhagavato. Therefore, you should actually, by making the lotus feet of the Lord's lotus feet, Bhajaniyam. Bhajaniyam means worship, Angring lotus feet. Therefore, making the Lord's lotus feet as the most worshipful, Kritvo Dhupam. Kritva Dhupam. That means making that as the boat. Then Uttara Dustaram. Ustara means one can very easily cross that thing which is Dustaranam, very difficult to cross. So by making the lotus feet of the Lord as the boat, we can very easily cross an ocean which is otherwise very, very difficult to cross. Okay, so that's the verse here, and Prabhupada explains that how the material existence, great oceans of nations, and on the another name for this ocean is Vaitarani, right? And then the other side of Vaitarani, is the spiritual world. So this material world, so many universes, they come into existence, they get annihilated. In the spiritual world, there is no question of annihilation. And we have a chance to enter that Vaikunta. Right? From the Vaitarani ocean, we want to go on the other side, Vaikunta. And here, the 4 Kumaras are saying, the way to do that is take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Make that as a boat. Get onto the boat. And then by that you can go home, back to Godhead. Right? Even an expert swimmer cannot cross when there are so many sharks. Right? So Prabhupada also yes. Okay. So next 41. So that's the final verse that the 4 Kumaras, Sanat Kumar is actually saying. So the last 2 verses is concluded what? Last 2 verses of Bhakti, right? Okay, any comments, questions, realizations?
I feel like there's other shlokas in Bhagavatam also, right? Talk about boat.
Boat, yeah.
Like the captain is the spiritual master, and
So there is one verse in the even first chapter, there is a verse, right? Where Sonakadi Rishi talks to Sutta Goswami and says, "Oh, we have met your goodwill by the will of providence, right? And hence we make you as a Karna Dhara," it actually says, as the captain of our ship, by which we can cross over this material ocean. And then 11th canto, there's another verse which actually says how we make our body as the boat, to cross over. The body is, human form of life is most favorable to actually cross over this boat by engaging in devotion to Lord. So there are actually few verses. Yes?
I was also thinking about this Bhava Sindhu Plavo Drisha Haricharyan Varnana. That is also
Harijan. That's second canto, right?
Etadhyatara Chittanam. Yeah.
Matra Sparshasya
Sasana.
Muhum Bhava Sindhu
Sindhu Plavo Drisha.
Pravodishta. Yes. So 2, 111. Right?
Second.
And also Brahmaji's version, 10, 14, 58, the famous version, Samasita
Ye
Ye
Pada
Padapalo.
Plavo. Yes.
Lotus feet.
Nice. Very nice.
I think even the demigods' prayers to Krishna in the womb, they say that it shrinks and the pure devotees leave the boat on the other side, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, when the pure devotees, the acharyas, they give a process of devotional service, and that verse is, and then you accept that process, and then that process is the boat to cross over, but they leave the boat on this side. So we all can jump, take that process, and cross over. Right? Yes, Very nice, right?
Like, I was just wondering, at the time when Srila Prabhupada came here, it's not that at the time there was no airways, Of course there was planes there at that time too, but Prabhupada chose to come by a boat, So,
Yeah.
crossing the ocean. Actually, I mean, it's so symbolic that Prabhupada actually crossed the
So many oceans.
Naja to Vaitarani to material world, and we have to go the other way from Vaitarani to Viraj to spiritual world. But we are not ready to take that 2 heart attacks and unlimited sickness in the boat too. We just want everything perfect, complete, absolute, no disturbance, sadhu type experience.
Yes. Good point.
Prabhupada left the boat of ISKCON society, and we
Yeah.
just have to remain within it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice point, that don't jump off the boat. Prabhupada has given us the boat, the process, so just stay within ISKCON. I mean, like my Guru Maharaj used to make this point, and he used to say that how ISKCON is the boat to cross over this material world. And he said, like, we are in the middle of this Bhava Sagar, right, in the ocean. He says, even though there are difficulties within the boat, the most stupid thing would be to jump off the boat. I mean, there's sharks everywhere. The whole ocean is there. Once you jump off, then that's it. Sharks, everything. You're not going to cross over. But even if there are difficulties, if you stay onto the boat will take you across. Because we have the best captain as Srila Prabhupada. He will take us across. Nice. Okay. Everyone, any other points? So, the last part of this chapter, I mean, there are like 2 more parts actually, a long chapter. So now, Prithu Maharaj will actually, after hearing all this, what does Prithu Maharaj tell for Kumara? So that's the next section. So we'll do a few more verses, then we'll take a break. Right?
Prabhu, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you this because when Prithu Maharaj was praying to the Lord that I want the service of your lotus feet, I don't want to be, in competition with Mother Lakshmi and all those things. So, and then after that, Chatush Kumar were not present at that time, right? They just came. That happened and long back.
Yeah, before.
I mean, Chatush Kumar is giving this instruction to specific Prithu Maharaj, or should we see it as a general Srimad Bhagavatam instruction? Because if he's giving specific, then he would have started from here, like direct, complete shelter. Because his verse is specifically talking about the service to the lotus feet, the toes, which is actually direct in the previous verse, is direct service desire of Prithu Maharaj. So which is like actually just resonating with the heart of Prithu Maharaj. So how do we see these verses? Like, is it like,
I mean, one way serving the lotus feet of Lord is actually, whatever is your mood of seva, this is like an umbrella. I mean, everyone, all devotees, we want to serve the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Now, that is like general, one way for everyone. That means engaging in practical devotional service. Now, Prithu Maharaj, in that umbrella of serving the lotus feet, he had a specific desire of, the Lakshmi ji, what you said. So, is this specific for Prithu or is it for everyone? Actually, both. Like Krishna himself, like we read before how Krishna himself said that, oh, the Kumaras will come and give you instructions. On bhakti. So, again, as it, like, how we see it, how we see it, like, throughout Bhagavatam, it is, okay, now he's a pure devotee, that's it. No, I mean, it's not, there's always levels and levels of, he's a pure devotee, but again, there is more. In bhakti, is like an unlimited ocean. So, by hearing these instructions, it is again enhancing the bhakti of Prithu. I mean, there's no limit to that, how one progresses in bhakti. So yes, it is instructions for Prithu and also instructions for all the citizens. Okay, anything else? Okay, so we'll continue. Now Prithu is going to speak to the folk Kumara. What is going to say? 41?
Text 41. Maitreya uvacha sa evam brahmaputrena kumarenatma medhasa darshitatma gati samyak prashasyo vachatam nripaha.
The great sage Maitreya continued, being thus enlightened in complete spiritual knowledge by the son of Brahma, one of the Kumaras who was complete in spiritual knowledge, the king worshipped him in the following words.
So it's very interesting. The word uses Atma Medasa. Atma Medasa means one who lives in Atma one way. That means who is well versed in spiritual wisdom, who is conscious of the Atma, who is living in the spiritual platform. Darshita Atma Gatihi. So the Atma Medasa, referring to the four Kumaras, showed Atma Gati, the path to attain Atma, the spiritual path. And Samyak Prashasya. Prithu Maharaj heard all this, he received that knowledge of the path of spiritual wisdom from those who are Atma Medasa, and then he actually Samyak Prashasya, he worshipped the four Kumaras by saying the following words. Right? So Prabhupada in the purport he contrasts Atma Vedasa, Medhasa, right? So versus Graha Medhi. So same root, Medhi, right? Atma Medhi, Graha Medhi, right? So are we a Graha Medhi or are we a Atma Medhi? Atma Medhi means one who is whose mind is always in Krishna consciousness. Graha Medhi means one who is always engaged in materialistic activities. Right? So Sanat Kumar, he was fully Krishna conscious, therefore he could give the spiritual wisdom to Prithu. So let's see what Prithu actually says in text 42.
Rajovacha krito me nugraha purvam harinartanukampina tam apadayitum brahman bhagavan yuyam agata.
Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The king said, O Brahmana, O powerful one, formerly Lord Vishnu showed me his causeless mercy, indicating that you would come to my house, and to confirm that blessings you have all come. Hare Krishna.
Right, so Prabhupada in the purport talks about himself. It's so interesting. So 42 basically is a Rajo Vacha. So the king here is speaking, Raja Uvacha. And then he says Anugraha. Anugraha, we have heard this word many times, like compassion or mercy. Anugraha Kritaha. Purvam, who did Anugraha? Harina. Hari, Lord Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, formerly he showed his causeless mercy upon me. And how do we get the causeless mercy of the Lord? By Artha Anukampina. Right? So he showed compassion to those who are in distress, referring to himself. Right? And then Apa Daitam. And you have come just to confirm his blessing. The Lord said, oh, you will be blessed. Right? So how does the Lord show us causeless mercy? By giving us the association of Vaishnavas. And here the Lord said, O Kumaras come. And he's saying the four Kumaras, you came just to fulfill the words of the Lord. Because the Lord gave the blessing, you have come to fulfill that. And then in the purport, Prabhupada actually says, the Vishnu predicted, and hence they have come. Similarly, Mahaprabhu predicted. What did he predict? Prithivete ache nagaradigam sarvatra prachar hope morana. Right? That the holy name of Krishna will be broadcast in all towns and villages of the world. And then Prabhupada said, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, they desired to fulfill. The Lord said, and they desired to fulfill. And then Prabhupada is saying, and we are following in their footsteps. It's Prabhupada who actually did it. All over the world, every town and village of the world, Prabhupada actually did it. But here in that mood of humility, he's giving all credit. That because Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, they desired, they had the desire. And Krishna actually said, fulfill. Okay. Right. So, in this, Krishna actually said the four Kumaras would come and give darshan, and hence the four Kumaras came. Mahaprabhu is saying it will happen all over, and hence he selected Srila Prabhupada to actually make that happen. Right? So, then Prabhupada actually makes this point. He says, in Bhagavad Gita also, Prabhupada says, Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi na me bhakta pranashati. Krishna is saying, Arjun, you declare it boldly, because if you say, then I will be bound by your words. You see how nice it is? Krishna himself, he said, like, if I give a promise, then I don't know, I may break that promise. But if my devotee says, chant for 16 rounds, follow for it, I will take you back home back there. If the devotee says, Krishna said, because my devotee said, I will do it. Krishna is so bound by the love of his devotees. So, right, and then, yes, so Lord, so very compassionate and Anukampina, Lord comes himself to benefit the fallen souls, comes as Krishna, Buddha, Narasimha, and all these incarnations. The ultimate reason is to take us home back to God. So Lord himself is coming. Imagine the Lord who's being served by so many gopis. Right? Does he have to come here? No, he just comes just because of his causeless mercy upon all of us. I mean, imagine if one really meditates on that point, that how Krishna is coming just for each one of us, right? Janma karma cha medya evam bhuvati tatvata. If you understand Krishna's appearance just like that, how Krishna is coming just to save me, if you understand that, that's it. Naiti mameti sarjuna. You don't have to take birth again, that's it. You're already back home, back to God. Right? 43.
Nishpaditascha kartsnena bhagavad-bhir-grinalubihi sadhu chishtam hi me sarvam atmana saha kim dade. Lavanga Manji Mataji and Mohananda Prabhu would like to read.
Mataji, listen only today. Yeah.
And Priyanka. Priyanka Mataji. No. Rajesh.
Yeah, I'll read. Yeah, Mata. I'm reading. Hare Krishna. My dear Brahmana, you have carried out the order thoroughly because you are also as compassionate as the Lord. It is my duty, therefore, to offer you something. But all I possess are but remnants of food taken by great saintly persons. What shall I give?
So basically here he's saying that it was Krishna's causeless mercy that he said you would come. And you, what have you done? Nishpaditacha. You have fully followed that instruction of Krishna. That you came because of Krishna's causeless mercy upon me. Right? So as a representative, so you are the representative of the Lord because the Lord said and you have come. Therefore, Granala Lubhi. You are most compassionate. Right? Most compassionate. And therefore he says, Sadhu Uchishtam, Sarvam me kim dade. Now you have come, you have given me so much spiritual wisdom. How can I repay you? One may say, you are the king. Give your kingdom. Give your kingdom as Guru Dakshina. But what is Prithu Maharaj's problem now? He said, I got the kingdom from sages. How can I give it back? Like the point he's saying that, and therefore the word Sadhu Uchishtam. If something is not yours, how can you give it to someone? The kingdom is not mine. I received it as a gift from the sadhus, but it is theirs. So how can I give something which is not mine? But I want to give you something. I want to give Guru Dakshina to you. Right? So Prabhupada actually focuses on the sadhu uchishtam. Right? He got his kingdom from great saintly persons like Brigu, and just like one gets remnants of food. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, the father out of affection, he may take something from his plate and give it to the child. And then, what if the child, he eats a little bit and gives it back to the father? I mean, that's not proper. Like the father gave it as a compassion, but the child cannot eat a little bit and give it back to the father. So, and there's one story that's coming to my mind that the initial days, like the Prabhupada was in the car and he was eating something. So he took a bite and he gave it to his disciple, like Maha Prasad. And because this was like the initial days, they didn't know. So that disciple took a bite and gave it back to Prabhupada. One way it's like kind of offensive, but they were like, in the initial days, they didn't know what is like Maha Prasad. Right? So So that's the point. How can I give it back? It's, it is like I have received it as, Father has eaten and given me something. How can I give it back to the Father? Right? It's not proper. It's my juta now that way, right? So, and then next verse he'll actually say, okay, still I have to offer something. You gave me so much, so I have to give you Guru Dakshina. Right? So 44.
Pranadara Sutta Brahman Grihascha Sa Parichada Rajam Balam Mahi Kosha Iti Sarvam Niveditam.
Hare Krishna 4:22-44. The king continued, therefore, my dear Brahmanas, my life, wife, children, home, furniture, and household paraphernalia, my kingdom, strength, land, and especially my treasury are all offered unto you. Hare Krishna.
Mm-hmm. So one way he said, like, this, I have received from all this as a gift. But it's like, I'm the king, like, how can I offer it back? But here is actually making the point that actually everything is already yours. What can I give you? It's all yours. So hence he says, prana, my life is yours. This is your, I'm yours, basically. Dara. So Prabhupada focuses on this word Dara. And he says some places, instead of Dara, it is Raya. Like Ramananda Rai, right? Raya. And why does he say this? Because as such, the tradition is not to give one's wife to Brahmana. It's just not proper. Like, how can you offer your wife to someone? Right? So hence, Prabhupada says, it is Raya. Raya means the wealth, right? So the wife is not permitted to be offered to Brahmanas. But Raya, your wealth, that can be offered, right? Then, so Raya instead of Daraha. Then Kosha. Kosha is mentioned. So this indicates Ratna Bandha. So yes, that is all the wealth that is actually, used for citizens, etc. So he offered everything. But in addition to that, the kings, they have their own inner special treasury room. Just for, their jewelry and everything. He said that also I'm offering to you. His private stock of jewelry also is giving. And then, right. So therefore he says, Dara, Graha, house, Rajyam, Balam, Koshaha, everything. It's a Sarvam Nivedam. It's all yours. So basically here he's saying, yes, how can I offer? But I can consider, instead of the example of father and child, I'm using this as the example. What is the example? You are receiving fruits, vegetables, right, from Krishna. And now what are you doing? You're cooking the thing and you're offering back to Krishna. Right? It says Krishna itself, but you're offering back. So similarly in that mood, here is saying, the master purchases the food, the servant prepares something, and then he offers it back. So similarly, he's offering back in that mood of bhakti. Right? It's already yours. I cannot give it to you, but in that mood, I can add my little devotion and offer it to you. 45.
Sainapatnyam cha rajyam cha dandanetritvam eva cha sarvalokadipatyam cha veda shastra vid arhati.
Hare Krishna. Since only a person who is completely educated according to the principles of Vedic knowledge deserves to be commander-in-chief, ruler of the state, the first to chastise or the proprietor of the whole planet, Prithu Maharaj offered everything to the Kumaras. Hare Krishna.
So basically here he says, who deserves to be, and four things he says, Sainya Patyam, the commander-in-chief, Rajyam, the post of ruler, then Danda Netratvam, who can award punishment, right? And Loka Adhipatyam, the proprietor of planets. Who has a right to have these four positions? Only one who is Veda Shastra with, who is actually knowledgeable of the Shastra. Now, am I? No, I am not. But you are. Therefore, this is all yours, because only you are qualified to have these four positions, right? So Prabhupada, the purpose says that the kingdom must be governed under the instructions of saintly people, right? That's the perfect system. So monarch is one way executes the duties as a servant to these brahmanas. So that's the mood that Prithu Maharaj is saying, that I am doing this, whatever I'm doing is just a service to you, right? And then Prabhupada further says, actually, who is the real proprietor? Is the king the real proprietor? Then he says, Iso Vasyamidam Sarvam. Yat kinchit jagatam jagatena saktena bhunjitan ma grita kasya siddhanam. Everything animate or inanimate, it belongs to who? Krishna. He's the controller, he's the proprietor, he is the real proprietor. So king understands that he is not the proprietor, he is the servant of the Lord. He is not the proprietor. Right? And then Prabhupada said in present age, we have democracy, by the people, for the people, but this is not sanctioned by the Vedas, because the people themselves don't have the correct knowledge of the Shastra, and hence they do not know what is the right criteria to select a ruler. Here the criteria is very clear. One who knows Shastra, he should be the king. But people don't know, right? Hence they are speculating and say, oh yeah, this time we need a republic president. And then later they say, no, this time we need so and so. No, and they keep changing. Because why? Because they don't have the authority. They don't have the Vedas as the authority to make a decision. So what kind of government would that be if the people themselves do not know what is best for them? Right? So that's Prabhupada's point here. So anyone in government should actually be well conversant with the Vedic wisdom. At least understand what is the real benefit for everyone. Right? Okay, and it's a duty of the government to arrange things like no starvation. Prabhupada says, and it's a householder's duty that even a lizard, if anyone has lizards in your house, even a lizard or snake should not starve, must be given food. So Prabhupada is saying, he's making the point that how it's a duty of the king to actually make sure that no one is actually hungry in the kingdom. The king should actually make sure there's no starvation. Right? So government should arrange all these things. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated, so as Grahastha, the king is an instrument of the Lord, and Grahastha should be instrument of that king, of distributing this. And the Grahastha's duty is to make sure that even a lizard or snake in your house does not go hungry. Now I don't know practically how you would do that. But that's what Prabhupada is saying, that even a lizard or snake, maybe there are some roaches in your house, that anyway they get their food. If you want it or don't want it, they are anyway getting their food. If you have some spiders, anyway, they also get their food. But the mood is basically like, we should be instruments of the will of the Lord. Krishna does not want anyone to starve, and we are actually being instruments to actually make sure that no one is hungry. Right? Okay.
Prabhu, just a funny note is last year when Haripasha Prabhu came, he was mentioning, I had a talk like how a grihastha should be, that you should go outside the door and yell if there's anybody hungry, please come. And then you have to feed that person, and until all the people they hear it. So Prabhu said, you can very nicely do it in US, but don't try it in India. Open the door and yell. Nobody will come, close it.
Yeah, your neighbors will think like, what is this? Every day before lunch they come and they shout. Maybe they are crazy people. Yeah, no one will come in US. But India, yes, you call out, you'll get a line of people to come and eat. But the point here is...
But the problem is, Prabhu, that even those people who are well fed also, they will come. The problem of greed comes, to say like, even if you don't really understand what is the mood of a grihastha is trying to feed, you cannot just, budge onto, you're well fed and still you want to go because,
Yeah.
Prabhuji,
this is... So, see, the principle is there of grahasthas like being instruments to feed those who are hungry. That is the main principle. Now, what we are discussing in Kali Yuga, how there may be, certain limitations of how we implement this principle. But if we accept this principle, then we'll find ways to implement it. Like you go to the Dham, holy Dham, right? Vrindavan. There's so much opportunity, like so many travelers come and you can arrange food for them, arrange prasadam for them. Or in Radhakund, so many of those widows, they stay, right? And then there are like so many projects by our ISKCON devotees where they are feeding everyone. You can be instruments. So there are ways, but the principle is that how the Lord is the maintainer and the king should be the instrument of the Lord. And as grahasthas, we are actually helping or being instrument to the mercy of the Lord. Right? We want to continue that chain and be instruments to feed other people. Right? So the principle has to be in point. Practical implementation, if you want to do it, you'll find ways to do it. That's the point. Okay.
Prabhuji, my father, and we can do it here also. Whenever he eats something, he will just keep a bite of chapati or anything, and he will give to the bird. He will just leave it in the balcony, and the crows come, the squirrels comes, and they eat it. Share the food.
Yeah. Okay, 46.
Swameva brahmano bhunte swam vaste swam dadati cha tasyai vanugrahenanam bhunjate kshatriyadayaha.
Hare Krishna. The Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras eat their food by virtue of the Brahmanas' mercy. It is the Brahmanas who enjoy their own property, clothe themselves with their own property, and give charity with their own property.
So, see, so interesting that how he's glorifying the Brahmana. He said, Swama eva Brahmana bhuta. Swam means own, Brahmana enjoy. Actually, and then he says vaste, clothing, right? Dadati. So he's basically making the point that he says that the Brahmanas, you enjoy your own property. What does that mean? That everything actually belongs to the Brahmanas. And that's the point that Prithu Maharaj is saying. The kingdom was given to me by the Brahmanas, and this is actually anyway yours. Like, it was given to me, but this all belongs to you. Therefore, you enjoy your own property. What about Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras? They will accept because everything belongs to the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas give their mercy, we'll accept it. So here it is one way flipped, and instead of saying that yes, the Kshatriyas they actually maintain everyone, here it is flipped and saying actually that everything belongs to the Brahmanas, and then the Brahmanas out of their mercy they are giving food to everyone, giving things to everyone. Right? What is their own property? Swam dadati, they actually give it. Right? So that dadati pratigrinati guyamakachi pichati, like that principle. Tasya anugrahe annam bhunte kshatriya ida. By their mercy, kshatriyas are actually eating. So Prabhupada in Purport says how the Lord is Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Right? He is worshipped as by everyone. Okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by everyone. Yet to teach others, he worships the Brahmanas. Where do we see similar section? When Vishnu comes at the gate, 4 Kumaras, Jai Vijay, how Vishnu glorifies the 4 Kumaras. That, all my glory is because of you. Right? So similarly, the point how Prithu is glorifying the Brahmanas, that everything actually belongs to you. And therefore, Krishna himself worships the Brahmanas. Therefore, following Krishna just to show is, if Krishna himself is worshipping, then we all should follow and worship the Brahmanas. Right? Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, they are direct servants of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So, here, so Prabhupada says, the Brahmanas are always engaged in service to the Lord. And they have very little time for handling finances. So the Brahmana says, oh Kshatriya, here, this is all mine. You take care, you do the management. That is your task. I will. Just whenever I need something, you can give it to me. So this is like a concept that we normally don't hear. But here the point is, Brahmanas are actually, because they are directly following the Vedas, they are directly following the mission of the Lord, actually everything belongs to them. Right? So if everyone eats only by virtue of the Brahmanas' mercy, therefore we should not eat anything which the Brahmanas would not eat. If the Brahmanas are providing, don't eat anything which is not sanctioned by the Brahmanas. Therefore eat only Krishna Prasadam. Right? And then when Prabhupada says, now people are eating all kinds of nonsense. Why? Because the Brahmanas are not there to guide all of us. Right? That's the problem. Okay. Text 47.
Yar idrashi bhagavato gatir atmavadam एकान्ततो निगमिभिः प्रतिपादितानः तुष्यन्त्वदभ्र करुणा स्वकृतेन नित्यं को नाम तत्प्रतिकरोति विनोदपात्रम्.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Prithu Maharaja continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with the complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid except by folded forms containing water for their satisfaction. Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. Hare Krishna.
So this is the last verse he speaks, and he says, "Yer idrishi bhagavato gatir." And basically, he's saying that those, bhagavato gatihi, you are actually the path of self-realization explained by the know Atma Vada. Those who know the Vedas, they actually explain the gatihi. Gati means the goal, the way to achieve Bhagwan. Right? So this is the four Kumaras saying, you are knowers of the Vedas, therefore you are explaining me how nigam me bhihi pratipadita. Why? Because you know the Vedas and you have complete conviction of the Vedas. So he's saying the four Kumaras, because you know the Vedas, you have complete conviction of the Vedas, you are showing the path to attain Bhagavan. Right? Then therefore he actually says, Tushanti, like what can I give you? Tushanti adabra karuna swakritena nityam. Therefore you be satisfied only by your seva of uplifting fallen souls. If the Brahmanas, they are the owners of everything, what can you give the Brahmanas? So hence you are saying, oh Brahmanas, Prithumar is saying, oh Brahmanas, you actually enlighten everyone because of your conviction and your wisdom. Therefore, you be satisfied just with your seva of giving this knowledge to others. That is how. What else can I give you, right? So, ko nam tat pratikoroti. We know the patram. Who can repay them? One can only offer vina uda patram. With folded hands, one can say, "Thank you." Like this is basically a verse where a guru says, "How can you repay the depth of a spiritual master? Is there any way?" Anything that we can do to repay the depth of spiritual master? Nothing. Right? So that's what. So this word, prati karoti, one way is like a joker. Only a joker can think that he can repay his spiritual master. Right? And Prabhupada also explains another Vinoda Patram. Right? So one means one who's offering, just saying, please take this water. Like the Ganga, you're just taking some water, offering back to the Ganga. What else can I give you? Similarly here, you're taking some water. This is what I can give you. You are everything to me. How can I repay the debt? That's the one. Or the other meaning is only a joker will think that he can repay the spiritual master. And Prabhupada and purport focus on this, and no one can render better service than one who distributes this knowledge. Why? Because everyone is Maya, we have forgotten our real identity, and hence because of that we want a peaceful life, but we are not able to get that. But only through spiritual wisdom we can get that peace that we are all looking for. And hence one who becomes instrument to share this wisdom, he is the greatest servant, right? And then what can satisfy such a person? Only his own seva of giving Krishna to others. So that's the verse. And text 48. Hey, Ratnanika, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Maitreya Uvacha Ta Atma Yoga Pataya Adi Rajena Pujita Shiram Tadiyam Sham Santaha Ke Bhavan Mishatam Nrinam.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued. Being thus worshipped by Maharaj Prithu, the four Kumaras, who were masters of devotional service, became very pleased. Indeed, they appeared in the sky and praised the character of the king, and everyone observed them. Hare Krishna.
So basically now the Kumaras are going back. So Atma Yoga Pataya. Those who are Atma Yoga, they are the masters of self-realization. Pujita, they were worshipped by who? Adi Rajena, the original king. So Prithu worshipped the masters of the self-realization, the four Kumaras. Shilam Tadiyam Santaha. And while they were going, they were saying, "Oh, Prithu, you are so great." They were eulogizing the character of Prithu. They were saying, "Prithu, so nice king. His attitude, his humility." So they are glorifying, and while they are moving towards their home, Satyaloka, they are actually glorifying Prithu. So Prithu worshipped them, and they left, and while they are leaving, they are glorifying. Right? So Prabhupada here in the purport, he says that he said that demigods never touch the surface of the earth. They travel, right? But they never, even if they come down, they never touch. But now in Kali Yuga, do demigods come down? Prabhupada says the humanity is not worthy of their presence. So, because our lives are so horrible, so much sinful activities, uncleanliness, untruth, like falsity everywhere. Demigods say, except for Mahaprabhu's moment, they are like, you know the famous story, right? Of Prabhupada and Mother Yamuna. She tells a story. She says she was singing, Prabhupada was sitting, and she was leading kirtan. And she started with Prabhupada Pranam, and then she was saying Hare Krishna, and then everyone was singing. And all of a sudden, while she's singing, Prabhupada started, Narada Muni Badaye Veena. And then like she's shocked, like she's singing Hare Krishna, and all of a sudden Prabhupada is singing at the same time. It wasn't that the Mahamantra is over. In between, Prabhupada is singing. And then she didn't know what to do. Should she stop? Or it was Prabhupada started singing. And Prabhupada looked at her and he said, continue. And she started singing. And then Prabhupada again, he said, Narada Muni Bajaya Veena Radhika Ramana Mahamane. And then Mother Yamuna could not understand that. What is happening? Then Prabhupada had never done that before. In between Hare Krishna Mahamantra singing this. And then the kirtan went, and it's described. That kirtan, everyone was off the floor. They were like few feet off the floor, dancing in so much ecstasy. And after that, then later on, Mother Yamuna went to Prabhupada. And she said, Prabhupada, what happened? And Prabhupada said, you did not see? Narad Muni had come. So Prabhupada could actually see Narad Muni had come, just to see how this Hare Krishna movement is actually going on, how Prabhupada is, all these white-bodied, people are chanting and dancing who were just so sinful before and now transform and chanting to Mahaprabhu's movement. And Narad Muni has personally come. So the point that, now, except for Mahaprabhu's movement, the demigod thinks, who will go to this dirty place, Kali Yuga, in the earth planet, right? So humanity is not worthy of the presence of demigods, don't even care to come down, right? But before, because when Prithu Maharaj was there, four Kumaras, they themselves came, and now they are going back, right? So that ends this. Then the last part is basically the glories of Prithu. That goes from 49 all the way to the end of the chapter, 63. Yeah, it's all the qualities and rule of Prithu Maharaj. So it's amazing, right? Bhagavatam, how many chapters on Prithu Maharaj? How we are in detail studying the life of Prithu. About the yagya, right? How Indra has come, and then actually first starting off the praises of Prithu, right? Then how Prithu actually milked the earth, right? Then after that we read about then this whole yagya where Indra comes, right? That whole episode. Then after that we read what does Prithu, then how Vishnu comes, then the prayers of Vishnu, Prithu to Vishnu, that exchange, that one whole chapter. Then after that, Prithu's speech to the citizens, that is one whole chapter. Then now, Prithu about conversation with Kumaras, one whole chapter. The next chapter, Prithu going back home, back to Godhead. Amazing, right? How many chapters we are actually reading just on Prithu Maharaj, such an important personality. The Bhagavatam is actually, spending so much. Sukdev Goswami is relishing so much talking about Prithu's glorious character. And I was explaining this point in one of the classes earlier this week, that how Krishna, when he comes, he wants to establish kings like Prithu, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, and how that is so powerful for all the citizens to actually become Krishna conscious. And that is in line with the heart of the Lord, that he wants everyone to become Krishna. So he wants to come and make sure that such glorious kings are there, as Prithu, as Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then when the king is actually a devotee, then all the citizens will see like, oh, he is a grahastha, he has managed so much management, yet he is practicing bhakti. Oh, we all can do it. It is so powerful when the king himself is Krishna, and Krishna comes again and again to make sure that we have such Krishna conscious kings. Prithu is such a king, and hence we are reading his life in so much detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, any final comments, questions? Vrindavan,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we know that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Then how we understand this verse 46 where it says Brahmanas are enjoying their own property?
Because the Brahmanas are, the point here is how Prabhupada explained, that even the Lord is worshipping the Brahmanas. So in that 3rd canto, 16th chapter, Krishna is actually glorifying the Brahmanas and saying, "Oh Brahmanas, because of you, I get my glory. I am glorious because you. Lakshmi does not leave me. Why? Because of your glories." So one way, the Brahmanas are so dear to Krishna, then Krishna says, yes, this is all yours. And hence the Brahmanas are, and we are talking about the true Brahmanas or Vaishnavas, the Brahmanas are really the one who understand that this is the real proprietor, and hence everything belongs to Krishna. And those who have the right understanding of how everyone belongs to Krishna, they are the ones who really know what is what. Right? And hence Prithu is saying, oh Brahmanas, actually everything belongs to you because you know who is the real proprietor. Otherwise everyone just misuses for their own sense gratification. So, that's real misuse of someone else's property. But one who knows, you can say father and child. Because the father loves the child so much, he'll say, oh, this is all yours. No, the child knows this all belongs to the father. But because the child is responsible person who knows the will of the Lord, the child is the proprietor now. Right? So similarly, the Brahmanas are the proprietor. And the Brahmanas enjoy. They are using Krishna's property. And then because they are the proprietors, they give everyone. Oh, Kshatriya, you need? So Prabhupada actually in one of the purpose, I didn't mention, but Prabhupada says it is like a savings account. The king is the banker for the Brahmanas. So interesting. And then, so if you have some money in the bank, like you are the proprietor, right? The bank is just here. The Brahmana is the person who is the person who has the money. The bank is the Kshatriya. Anytime you go to Bank of America and say, I have so much money, I can take it out, the bank will give. Similarly, the Brahmanas, anytime they can go to the Kshatriya and say, oh, we need money for so and so project for Krishna consciousness. And the Kshatriya should be like, okay, this is all your money, please take. Because you know what is the purpose of all this. Right? Therefore, you know, and this is all yours.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, I really like in the purport of text 42, Prabhupada is writing that Lord is so compassionate upon the fallen souls within this material world that he comes himself or send his devotees and his servants so that we can go back to Godhead. Thank you so much.
So nice. That's compassion. So here, the Lord said that the Kumaras will come, and hence the Kumaras are here. Right? Similarly, the Mahaprabhu's desire that Prabhupada comes gives us all Krishna consciousness, and hence we are so fortunate. Any other points before we take a break? Oh, already 9:07.
Do you remember that first time where I'm not sure if it is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he started to suddenly laugh one day and the devotees asked him, Prabhupada, why are you laughing? And he said, oh, Narad Muni and Lord Shiva are looking down and looking at everybody and seeing that how this mad, lectures are dancing in Kirtan.
The Prabhupada story.
Prabhupada story, right?
Yeah, Prabhupada story. Where he says that Narad Muni is laughing, that seeing how these people just few days back, they were drinking, illicit sex, and now they are chanting. And see how these people are chanting. And Narad Muni was laughing, Prabhupada was laughing too. So there are actually few incidences where the story is there of Prabhupada seeing Narad Muni.
Good morning.
You know?
He's very much with
And-
us.
Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada was there. So, and then one place he actually said that this was happening, and then said and tomorrow place a Vyasasan for Narad Muni. So he comes and he sits, because when he comes, like, he can take his asan and then he can see what is happening. So Narad Muni comes, visits, right? It's so amazing. So it's except for Mahaprabhu movement, otherwise the demigods would not even care for this material world, this earth planet, in Kali Yuga especially. But because of Mahaprabhu, the demigods are praying, oh, we want to come down, we want to be here. They are waiting in line, how Prabhupada said. The demigods are waiting in line to take birth in the Hare Krishna movement. Imagine, demigods are waiting in line to take birth in Hare Krishna movement. How fortunate we are. Okay, any other points? We'll take a break.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one doubt, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, you mentioned one point, Prabhu, like the people who are who have knowledge of Vedas or spiritual knowledge, if they rule the country or the kingdom, it will flourish. Like in the same wise, if in the same wise in the current situation, Prabhu, if like our ISKCON devotees enter into this ruling and everything, bhakti will flourish. So I have that doubt from long time, bro. Like why our devotees are not into that?
Actually, Prabhupada actually, if you see the history, Prabhupada wanted this. He tried this also. So some of the disciples formed the political party. And what is the name of the political party? In God we trust.
Hari.
So Prabhupada actually formed this. But then, I think it was a Balavanta Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple, who was leading this. But Prabhupada very quickly saw that politics is so dirty in this current age, that he said, like, people are not in a position where they will really appreciate, they will vote, and then if we go, we will get polluted. It is so dirty. So so yes, Prabhupada's desire was there, that even Bhakti Vinod Thakur, what did he say? That the progress will be when the High Court judge, he is wearing a tilak. That means a Vaishnava is a High Court judge. He said that is a real thing. So yes, if devotees are in such high position, it is very, very powerful. But politics, like right now, because it is so corrupted, that if we go, we will get corrupted. So hence Prabhupada, he told Balwant Prabhu, okay, now no more. Let's not pursue this. It is too corrupted right now. But the principle is there, that in general, Mataji, if
But
you want to stand,
many jivas will be uplifted, Prabhu, right?
yeah, I mean, so yes, if the king is a devotee, how many people will get benefit?
Yes.
Imagine a Vaishnav becomes a president. What the first thing he'll do? Close all these slaughterhouses. But would people like it?
Definitely there will be.
Yeah, there'll be
Definitely
so
there
much
will be
opposition that,
Yes.
yeah. So it is so degraded now. Hence, the main focus is that go out, give the holy name. Chant Harinam Sankirtan, give Prabhupada's books. That is what we can do. And by that, each one of us taking that responsibility of sharing Krishna consciousness, then this is our approach by which we can enter the mainstream. The top down will not work from the politics because of the corruption at the top level. But the approach that will work is from us, all of us going out, giving Krishna consciousness. And that is the approach that Prabhupada actually saw, and hence he encouraged, okay, everyone, go out. Prabhupada said, close the temple and go out and give Krishna to everyone. In the sense of like, maybe have one pujari just to take care of deities. But the main point, our whole mission is to go out, give Prabhupada's books, give the holy name, and this will cause that revolution, what you're talking about. This will cause the change in society.
Yes,
So this
Prabhu.
is
Hope to see soon, Prabhu.
the change in society.
Yes, Prabhu.
So that we have to do our task. We have to go out and give Krishna to everyone. I mean,
Thank you.
each one of us, each one of us has to make that. I mean, now
Yes.
in US there is this, called 335. Maybe you have heard the project 335.
No, Prabhu, I'm not aware, Prabhu.
So, I mean, it's a big project, and I don't know how they will calculate, but the goal is by the year 2035, in 9 years, 3% of the population should at least be familiar with Krishna consciousness, be favorable or actively practicing Krishna consciousness. Now, that's the vision that the leaders have put. 3%, imagine 3% of the population. I mean, that's like, where are we right now? I know 0.001%, or
Yes.
even less maybe. But that's the goal, that's the vision. And if you want to help, there's so many ways how you can participate in this 335 mission. 3% of the population by 2035 becomes Krishna conscious.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, only
Mother,
human population or plants,
Shraddha?
animals, birds also? Only human population or every jiva?
3% of the human. We'll start with human, Mataji. And you can
No, Prabhu,
focus on
it's easy to
focus on
do that
animals.
plants and animals, Prabhu. It's easy to do that rather than humans.
Yeah, 335 on. Yeah. Let's start with humans, Mataji. And what to talk of 3, even if you get 0.3%, that itself is huge. And that's the vision. We'll see how far it goes. But at
So
least,
we will
Yeah.
have Govindas everywhere. Imagine.
Yeah, that's actually one big aspect of this 335 vision, having Govindas everywhere. There's actually, if anyone's interested in starting Govindas, they have written this beautiful document how every place you can have Govindas. There's a whole one Prabhu in Canada, Toronto. He's written this whole document. What was Prabhupada's vision of Govindas? How you can start Govindas and the power of having Govinda restaurant everywhere. If anyone's interested, it's just an ebook. I can just share it. If you just try to read out of curiosity about glories of Govinda and how you like to start, then yes. And Amanti Mati, if you want to stand for mayor, we'll all vote for you.
No, Prabhu. I just want to help Prabhu. I'm just a servant. I cannot lead it, but I just desire to help Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean that's nice. That's how. So our whole strategy is start from here. Wherever we are, reach out to 5 people in your neighborhood or 5 people get them to come to Bhakti Vrish. Get them, give them Prabhupada's books. Start with this, and each person we meet is making a difference. So we can make this happen, but we all have to be in that mood of giving Krishna to others. Okay, it's already 9:16. We didn't take a break. Let's take a quick 4 minutes break, and we'll do half an hour, and then we'll end. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Please everyone come back. And it's just a few more minutes. Let's continue. And then, so we are verse number 49. So these verses, so we are completed. Everyone's back. We have completed most of like the technical and philosophical aspects of this chapter. Now it is more of glory, so it's a little bit simpler section, right? 1 minute. Okay, so let's continue. Text number 49.
Vanyastu dhurya mahatam samstityadyatma shikshaya aptakamam ivatmanam mena atmanyavastitaha.
Amongst great personalities, Maharaj Prithu was the chief by virtue of his fixed position in relation to spiritual enlightenment. He remained satisfied as one who has achieved all success in spiritual understanding. Hare Krishna.
So basically here it says Vainya. We see this word again and again, son of Vena, right? Dhurya Mahatam. He is considered as the best, the chief of all Mahatmas. So we see how Bhagavad Gita talks of Mahatmas, and here is saying Prithu is the chief of great personalities. Samstitya Adhyatma Shikshaya, being completely fixed in self-realization, he's Aptakamam. So this word Aptakama, remaining satisfied, is actually what Prabhupada focuses on. And he says, like, how can we achieve satisfaction in this world? And he says, Atmanam Atmani Avastita. The only way we can really be satisfied in this world is when we have achieved success in spiritual understanding. Only from the spiritual side we can achieve satisfaction. From the material side, there will never be satisfaction. There will always be ups and downs, this need, that need. But from the spiritual side, when we attain that perfection, then we will feel aptakam. No more other hankering, lamentation, no more material desires. We'll just feel so happy with himself. And that was Prithu Maharaj's condition. He was satisfied. And therefore, he's called the best of all Mahatmanas. Mahatmanastu Mampartha Devim Prakritim Ashita. He was the best of all those Mahatmas. Text 50.
कर्माणि च यथा कालं यथा देशं यथा बलं यथोचितं यथा वित्तम् अकरोद् ब्रह्मसात्कृतम्. Avanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Being self-satisfied, Maharaja Prithu executed his duties as perfectly as possible according to the time and his situation, strength and financial position. His only aim in all his activities was to satisfy the absolute truth. In this way, he duly acted. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. So basically it's a karmani. So he engaged in activities of bhakti like chanting, remembering the Lord, kirtan of the Lord. He was doing, but along with that, he did his prescribed duties. And how did he do his prescribed duties? Kalam, according to time and circumstance. Desham, according to place and situation. Balam, according to what strength he had. Uchitam, as far as possible. Vittam, as far as the money can spend, right? So this is really in line with the verse of Upadeshamrita, Atyahara Prayashasha Pradam. So what is our ability, right? What is strength we have? If we overdo it, then that is Prayashasha. But based on what is our strength, how much money we have, based on time, based on situation, we do our prescribed duties. And how do we do? Brahmasat, all activities for the satisfaction of the absolute truth. Right? So Prabhupada explains this in the purport that why did Prithu, if he is a pure devotee, why did he engage in these, one way, this prescribed duties on the varna and ashrama level, right? That they do it, first point, to teach people in general. Yad achari shreshtas tat evitaru. If these great Mahatmas don't do prescribed duties, how will people follow, right? That's first. Second, even though they are pure devotees, they are still, like here Prithu, he's still a Kshatriya and he has duties in the Kshatriya, and if he does not do those duties of Varna and Ashrama, then it will mess up the Varnashram system. So second, to keep up the Varnashram system, they will do the prescribed duties. So first is to teach people in general. Second is to maintain Varnashram. Third, to avoid criticism of the path of bhakti. Like people say, oh, ye to Hare Krishna ban gaya. He became a Hare Krishna devotee and now he's not doing anything. Well, we don't want that kind of criticism. You can be a devotee at the same time do everything perfectly. That is real preaching. So to avoid that criticism. And fourth, to protect the confidentiality of pure bhakti. So 4 points Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually gives that why Prithu, even though he's a pure devotee, he does not need to do all these activities, still he did. To set the right example, to avoid lapses in Varnashram, to avoid criticism on the path of bhakti, and to protect the confidentiality of pure bhakti. And Prabhupada in the purport makes this point. He says, Prithu, he did the responsible duties of a Kshatriya, of a king, of a devotee, everything. And then he says that things which are duties which are favorable to Krishna consciousness should not be rejected, nor should activity which is favorable to devotional service considered as material. Right? So what is the point? So for Arjun as a Kshatriya, now Was his fighting the war of Kurukshetra favorable to bhakti? One may say it has nothing to do, right? Maybe next life, if Arjuna is pure devotee, but maybe next life he's going to be a Brahmana. Then what is his duty the Varnashram got to do with anything? No, but his fighting was actually favorable to bhakti. Therefore, he should not give it up. And at the same time, you should not consider Arjun's fighting as Duryodhan's fighting. Arjun's fighting is no longer material. Because he is doing it for Krishna, it is actually spiritual. Right? So both ways. So things which are favorable for bhakti should not be given, and when we do some activities that are favorable to bhakti, it should not be rejected. Right? So that's the point. Okay, text 51.
Prabhu, to protect the confidentiality of bhakti means like, kind of like what Lord Chaitanya told the Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, like do your duties, but internally maintain your spiritual life. Is that what it means?
Yeah. See, bhakti is one way, it's like, if someone is in the position of a king, let's put it this way, if someone is in the position of king, now he's practicing bhakti. What will everyone talk about? Oh, see how he's a pure devotee, see what he's doing, But he wants to, bhakti is something that internally we want to have that relationship with. We don't want to show it to everyone. Especially in a position of king, you want to still act as if you're a normal person just to protect your intimate relationship with Krishna. So hence to protect that, he was showing, oh, I'm just like a worldly man. I'm doing all my duties. But internally, you're a pure devotee. So that Rupa Goswami example is also a nice example. Okay, text 51.
So we have example of Rishabh Dev also, who is also,
Avaduta.
he did not follow the Varnashram system as such. Like
Yeah.
he was like Babaji.
Yeah,
Brahman.
Avaduta.
Avadut. And then he is also Shaktavesh avatar. Here Prithu Maharaj is also Shaktavesh avatar. So like.
But see, Rishabdev, it's very interesting how he actually already did the duties. He already made Bharat Maharaj the king. He gave, so what was necessary for Varnashram, he established, oh, you be the king, you do this, gave instruction. What was required, he did that. And after, my duties are done. Now I am just Avaduta. Right? Then he was beyond this Varnashram system. But those who are in a position of king, they should do their duties just to keep the Varnashram, just to set the right example, just to show that how bhakti can be practiced at the same time, how maintain the confidentiality of bhakti. Okay? Any questions? Comments? Okay, text 51.
Kalam brahmani sanyasya nirasamahitaha karmadhyaksham chamanvana atmanam prakrite param.
Maharaj Prithu completely dedicated himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to material nature. Consequently, all the fruits of his activities were dedicated to the Lord, and he always thought of himself as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of everything.
So basically here it says Phalam Brahmani Sannyasa. Sannyas means one to give up. So all the results of his activities he actually gave up to Krishna. Right? Nirvisanga. And because he was connecting everything to Krishna, he remained Nirvisanga without being contaminated. Samahita Karma, dedicating all his work, Manavaha Adhyaksham, and always thinking of the Lord. Atmanam, understanding that how this Atmanam, the super soul or Krishna, is Prakriti Param. He is the proprietor of the material world. So he did all his duties, understanding actually who is the real boss, the real proprietor? Krishna. He is the real proprietor. And therefore, because he is the real enjoyer, real proprietor, let me offer all my results to Krishna. And therefore, Prabhupada makes the point that even though he is a grahastha, actually he is a sannyasi. Because sannyas means what? Offering everything to Krishna. So if you're in grahastha ashram and at the same time, if you're offering everything to Krishna, you are as good as a sannyasi. So even though he's a grahastha, he's actually in renounced order of life. So Prabhupada makes that point. And he says particularly for grahasthas, how can we actually have this state? And he said, Prabhupada is saying, you install deities at home and say, oh, who is the proprietor of my house? My Laddu Gopal, my Gaurnitai. They are the proprietor of my house. My Lord is the proprietor of the house. Then you can always have that concept. Everything I'm doing is for the Lord. I'm working for the Lord because this is the Lord's property. Right? So, next verse, 52.
गृहेषु वर्तमानोऽपि स साम्राज्यश्रियान्वितः नासजतेन्द्रियार्थेषु निरहमतिरर्कवत्. Divinity Mataji.
Maharaj Prithu, who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulence for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected by in all circumstances.
So basically here is saying Griheshu Vartamana. Even though he was present at home, Samrajya Shriya Anvita, he was absorbed in like, oh, kingdom, I have to take care of this, I have to do this duty, taxes, all those things. He was taking care. Na asajate indriya arteshu, but he never used any of this for sense gratification. So even though one may be at home, one may have all properties, dealings, everything, but if he's not using anything for sense gratification, then he remains pure. He remains unaffected. And what is the example? Arkavat. Like the sun shines everywhere, right? If the sun is shining on some contaminated urine or stool or something, does the sun get contaminated? No. Rather, the sun purifies that contaminated object. So similarly, Prithu Maharaj was just like that. Even though he was dealing with everything, he was not getting contaminated, rather he was purifying everything that he was doing. Right? So Prabhupada makes this point that, Prithu, he was a Grahastha, and of all ashramas, Grahastha is the one that has the license for sense gratification, but yet, because Prithu was a devotee, even in Grahastha ashram, he was actually not engaging in senses for sense gratification. He was doing everything without that engagement, right? And therefore Prabhupada quotes Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatena Nirmalam. That real definition of bhakti is give up all these upadis and don't engage your senses in sense gratification, but use your senses in the service of the Lord. So using your senses in service of the Lord, that is pure devotional service, and that's what Prithu was doing. 53.
एवम् अध्यात्मयोगेन कर्माण्यनुसमाचरन् पुत्रान् उत्पादयामास पञ्चाचिष्यात्मसन्मतान्. Let's see, Kushalya Mataji. Gagandi Prabhu left, Karuna Shakti Mataji left.
Okay, anyone can go ahead with this.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Rashtra Mataji.
Hare Krishna, 422.53. Being situated in the liberated position of devotional service, Prithu Maharaj not only performed all fruitive activities, but also begot 5 sons by his wife Archie. Indeed, all his sons were begotten according to his own desire.
So basically here it says Adhyatma Yogina, by means of Bhakti Yoga, Karmani Anusmaracharan. Right? So he actually said always executing the activities, fruitive activities, Putran Utpadan, Asha Panchas. He got 5 sons in Archie and Atma Samatan. So Prabhupada explains this word Atma Samatan according to his desire. Prithu wanted sons who would become the next kings, and hence his union with Archie was in that pure consciousness, and because he did it, and Prabhupada in the purport talks about this Garbhodam Samskar. He says when one actually unites in that Garbhodam Samskar, then whatever conception the husband and the wife have, that conception actually affects the mentality of the child. So this is a science like, okay, if you want a certain kind of child, this is how you unite. And Prithu is showing that example. So he got 5 sons according to how he desired them to be. This is how powerful science. Imagine, his husband and wife are, getting in the time for them to unite, and they're like, okay, let's see, maybe we'll get a pure devotee of Krishna. That conception of that actually gets transferred. So, okay, 54 gives the 5 names of the sons.
Vijitashvam Dhumrakesham Haryaksham Dravinam Rikam Sarvesham Lokapalanam Dadaraika Priturgunan.
Hare Krishna. Can I read?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After begetting 5 sons named Vijestava, Dhumrakesha, Haryaksha, Dravina, and Vraksha, Prithu Maharaj continued to rule the planet. He accepted all the qualities of the deities who govern all other planets. Hare Krishna.
Basically, here 5 sons, their names are given: Vijitasva, Dhumrekshu, Haryaksham, Dravina, and Vraksha. 5 sons, right? And then further it actually says, Dadara Eka Guna. Prithu accepted the qualities of the deities of the so many planets, right? So Prabhupada explains, every planet has a deity. Like there's Vivaswan for the sun planet, moon planet, there's another deity. So Prithu accepted the qualities of all these demigods. So Prabhupada makes an interesting point in the purport. He says there are 2 Kshatriya dynasties. We know, right? Surya Vamsha, Chandra Vamsha. He says many times if the monarch is Surya Vamsha, then all the other subordinate kings are Chandra Vamsha. If the monarch is Chandra Vamsha, all the other subordinate kings are Surya Vamsha. Right? So in that way, both these dynasties actually are continuing. Sometimes one is more prominent, sometimes the other is more prominent. Right? But Prithu was so powerful, he had the qualities of all the predominant deities of basically Surya Vamsha, Chandra Vamsha, all beyond that, he had the qualities of everyone. Right? And then Prabhupada also says here, it clearly says moon highly, there's a king of the predominating deity of the moon. Therefore, Prabhupada says, we are always in doubt whether actually people are going to moon. Because they go to moon and they say like, oh yes, there was this dust. They'll get some dust or something. And they say, oh, we didn't find anything. I mean, moon is a heavenly planet. There is a king of moon. There are personalities who stay on moon. So how can we understand that? Except we are always in doubt whether they actually went to the moon. Okay. One more verse and then we'll stop. Right? 55.
Gopithaya Jagat Shrishte Kale Sweswech Yutatmakaha Manovag Vritibhi Somyar Gunai Samranjayan Praja.
Hare Krishna. Is it okay to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Since Maharaj Prithu was a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wanted to protect the Lord's creation by pleasing the various citizens according to their various desires. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj used to please them in all respects by his words, mentality, works, and gentle behavior.
So basically, here it says, Gopti Thaya Jagat Shrishte. For the protection of the Jagat Shrishte, the Lord's creation. He knew that this belongs to the Lord. So to protect all this, what did Prithu do? Achyuta Atmaka, he being Krishna conscious, in due course of time, Kale, Sway, Manaha Vaka Vrittibi Somyahi. With his mind, with his words, with his occupation and gentle behavior, he pleased citizens according to the sway, according to their desire. Oh, use this, you want so and so? Okay, with their gentle behavior, with his occupation, he pleased all the citizens. And Prabhupada makes the point, it's a duty of the king to please all the citizens by fulfilling their needs. By fulfilling their needs. So that's how Prithu was actually ruling. So Prabhupada says the duty is to satisfy them in sense enjoyment, at the same time elevate them to Krishna consciousness. Both the duties Prithu was perfectly satisfying. He was fulfilling both these duties perfectly. And this is the example that we should follow. He's just setting the example. And if anyone follows the example of Prithu, then there will be peace and prosperity in the world. Otherwise, there will be wars everywhere, right? What we are currently seeing. Okay. So, we have to distribute Bhagavatam to all the government officers. They need to see, if you want peace, prosperity, read Srimad Bhagavatam, follow the example of Prithu Maharaj, then only they will have peace and prosperity. Okay, so we have come almost to the end of this chapter, just a few more verses, and they are all like Prithu is compared to the moon, to the sun, to the fire, to earth, and one quality for each. That list is there. So that we'll start next time, we'll complete this list, and we will go to chapter number 23, which is Prithu going back home, back to Godhead. So, okay. It's very nice to meditate on Prithu's going back home, back to Godhead. Okay. So thank you all so much. We'll end here. Grantarashram Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripasindhubhaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you all so much. Any final comments, realizations?
Oh, I've seen this, that whenever we have read about a particular personality for a long period of time, the last chapter is very emotional. Like, it's like we're not going to talk about Dhruva anymore. We're not going to talk about Prithu Maharaj anymore. It's like long time we're associating every day, about them.
I mean, that's really nice to have that feeling of separation from Prithu, and that feeling of separation will actually inspire us to meditate on like some pastime of Prithu, and naturally it will come to our mind. Oh, Prithu did this, Prithu did this. So it's so nice that you are feeling that. Nice. So it's chapter number 15 we started, right? 15 to 23. Eight chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, any other points?
Prabhuji, how fortunate we are that you said that even demigods are waiting to take birth in the Hare Krishna movement.
Yeah, Prabhupada said that. So amazing.
I like the mood of how Prithu Maharaj is seeing that everything really belongs to the Brahmanas, and that we can have that mood also, like everything already belongs to the Vaishnavas, and we just use it in their service. And we have to have that proprietorship mood.
Yeah. And also a point over that how can we repay the debt to a spiritual master?
Yeah.
That was also such a nice verse.
Prabhu, even Krishna told the gopis also, he said that your glories are only your repay, right?
Yes.
Good point.
Same point, yeah. So therefore you be pleased with your service of giving Krishna to others. How can I please you? There's no way I can repay. So it's similar. No pari ham mood here also. Anything else? Okay, so stop here. Thank you all so much. We'll see you all next Sunday. We'll see you today evening at the temple. But we'll see you here next Sunday for Bhagavatam. Okay. So we'll have it next Sunday. Then after that, I think we're going to miss 2 weeks of Bhagavatam. And it's Sadhusanga retreat, and then after that we have Haldar Swami Maharaj. And yeah, maybe that weekend we can do maybe a shorter class. So next week Sadhusanga weekend we'll certainly skip. Then I think following week we can continue. Yeah? So next week we'll see all of you for our regular Sunday feast. And then also I'm planning the dates for the CBE and OBE, and then maybe tomorrow I'll post it on the group. Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. In no ways we can repay your and Mataji's debt. So,
Hare Krishna.
folded hands, offer gratitude. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.